Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. Unless you've been living under a rock when it comes to the hero shooter genre, you've probably heard Paladins be compared to Overwatch and Overwatch compared to Paladins countless times. And that's for good reason. Both games are in the same genre and have some pretty similar characters and mechanics. However, both games still do a lot of things differently, as I found out on my YouTube channel over the past 6 months while exploring Overwatch for the first time. Now, while playing both games, I've noticed a bunch of certain things that both games do better than each other. I think it would be a disservice to the achievements of both games to say that one is outright better than the other, because both Paladins and Overwatch are fantastic games in their own right, and there are great reasons to give both a try. However, both games do have their strengths and weaknesses, and things that each could improve on and maybe learn from each other. So I think it would be a fun thing to compare both games and highlight the best that each has to offer. But first, let me get a few things out of the way. First, I want to make it extra clear that this video is not hating on Overwatch. Personally, I really enjoy both games, and in a perfect world, I would take the best bits from both games and make the best video game of all time. In fact, a week after this top 5 video is published, I'll be releasing a second top 5 video going over the top 5 things that I think Overwatch does better than Paladins. So if you're an Overwatch fan, don't go disliking the video just because I said Paladins does some things better than Overwatch. Also, I just want to mention that this list is simply my informed opinion. I've taken assessment of the things in Paladins that I consider to be better than Overwatch and put the best ones in this video. If I didn't mention something here that you think deserves recognition, leave it in the comments and maybe I'll give it a heart. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. Number 5. Cosmetics. Coming in at the number 5 spot, we have cosmetics. Now, of course, ultimately cosmetics are purely subjective, and you might think that the skins in Overwatch look better than Paladins. You are absolutely entitled to that opinion, and that reason is exactly why this only ranks in at number 5. However, I still want to talk about the overall quality and creativity of the skins when it comes to Paladins and Overwatch. In Overwatch, you can buy most skins for the currency earned from loot boxes and by playing certain role queues, and then some are locked behind certain limited events and whatnot, which is just fine. Paladins works in much the same way. However, the skins themselves are, well, they're just not as imaginative as I feel they could be. Let's compare Soldier 76 to Victor, since both are just your basic run-of-the-mill gunner character. Soldier 76 has his default skin, some recolors of that default skin, some more recolors of that default skin, and then some versions of him with different clothes, masks, and hair. All of his skins look like he's either changed his outfit or is wearing a costume. They don't step out of the box too much with his skins, and while some are fun and silly, and all of them are well made, they're just not very imaginative. Now, let's take a look at Victor in Paladins. Obviously, this guy has his default skin, some recolors of his old default skin, and then we get into the more interesting skins. You can play Victor as a werewolf, a dragon man, an imperial soldier, 4 different variants of plastic green soldiers, and even freaking Doom Guy. There's way more creativity with these skins, and this is just one champion. There's a wide variety of skins for almost every champion in Paladins. Not to mention, every epic or legendary skin comes with its own unique voice pack, which fits the skin perfectly, which cannot be said of the skins in Overwatch. The inclusion of unique voice packs with the skins really makes each unique skin feel like its own character, instead of just the same champion with a costume on. And some of these voice packs are absolute gold. Look no further than Americon if you want an example of that.
About to get patriotic as f***ing here! Screw the metric system! This burger disgusts me! Send it back! It didn't come with a little flag on top!
And of course, the icing on the cake is that if you have multiple skins, you can mix and match weapon cosmetics to your heart's content. So if you don't like the flaming axe on Grover's Grobot skin, bam! You can equip his Nerf axe instead. The only weapon you can equip over a regular skin in Overwatch is the gold weapon, which you get from ranked. Which, by the way, let's talk about gold skins. In Overwatch, you can buy gold weapons with the currency which you get from playing competitive, and there aren't any full gold skins. That's not the case in Paladins at all. Every single champion in Paladins at the bare minimum has a golden weapon, which you unlock by reaching level 50. But they're slowly but surely giving every single champion a fully fleshed out gold skin, some of which look truly phenomenal. I mean, just look at this. It's a black and gold frickin' demon. How cool is that? Or how about the newest gold skin in Paladins for the latest champion Vatu? I mean, geez, this is, it's pure eye candy. Imagine how cool gold skins would be for some of the heroes in Overwatch, like D.Va. But alas, no such thing exists, for now. But of course, skins aren't the only cosmetics in either game. Both games have avatars and sprays, which honestly, I can't really say one game's avatars are better than the others. However, Paladins does have some 3D sprays like this heart, which is a fun and different way of spraying on your enemies. And that's not where Paladins ends with its cosmetics. Not only are there custom loading borders, some of which you get by playing ranked, but there's custom mounts thanks to the new mount system in Paladins, which I also want to touch on here. In Overwatch, to get into the fight, you have to walk there yourself, and with some heroes who don't have movement abilities like Rima, it takes a really long time to get back into a fight, and it just doesn't feel very good. In Paladins, every time you respawn, you get a mount to get back into the fight faster. You can get shut off your mount, at which point you'll fight like normal and move at your normal speed, but while on a mount, you'll get back into the fight significantly faster than if you just walked. At the start of every round, everyone on both teams rides in on their horse, which means everyone gets to the objective at the same time. If you want, you can invest some credits into master riding to get around on your mount faster, which can create an advantage for yourself at the cost of some credits during the match. However, everyone has equal access to this item, and mounts ultimately just make getting to the objective and back into the fight a bit more fair. And it also opens up some room for some strategy. If you've taken control of the objective, zoning up to dismount the enemies can buy some crucial capture progress on an objective. And of course, Evil Mojo's imagination doesn't fall short with the mounts either. We've got everything from horses, to serpents, to griffins, speeders, and large cats. Even the base horses have some nice variety. You can ride in on everything from a unicorn, to a flaming steed, to a mecha motorcycle horse hybrid of pure American power, to a menacing ethereal nightmare horse. Overall, I think the quality of cosmetics in Paladins is way better than those in Overwatch, and I think that it's fantastic that Evil Mojo isn't afraid to make some imaginative and unique skins for its champions. Number 4. Queues and team compositions. If there's one thing that every Overwatch player can agree on, it's that queue times for DPS are long. Sometimes, you might wait 8 minutes loafing around in a deathmatch, only to finally end up in a proper game that takes 4 minutes to complete. I know that I'm not the only one who has a problem with this, and it's one of the things that makes Paladins just a bit better. In Paladins, you can queue for a casual match and choose whichever game mode you want. If you don't want to play Onslaught, you can opt out of that, for example. In Overwatch, if you queue for regular quick play, there's a chance to get any of the different game modes, and you can't just opt out of Assault, for example. And in Paladins, if you have crossplay on and queue for every game mode, you can get into a match in mere seconds. At most, it might take 2 to 3 minutes, but most of the time I spend around a minute queuing. And once you're finally inside of a match, the team composition is totally up to you and your team to decide. There's no fixed roles like in Overwatch, where there must be 2 tanks, 2 DPS, and 2 healers. In Paladins, you can run a typical 1 tank, 2 DPS, 1 flank, and 1 support comp, or you could decide to have 5 healers, or pick a bunch of tanks with Grok supporting them, or just say, screw winning, and use 5 DPS. The choice is totally up to you and your team, or your party if you have friends. Which, if you don't have friends, now would be a good time to check the description down below for the link to my Discord server, where we have an active community of wonderful people who play Paladins, Overwatch, and more. But what I like about this is that there's so much more room for unique and silly team strategies to be made. With the recent Grok buff, for example, you could take Grok, Tyra, and 3 chunky tanks with big shields and control the objective like it's nothing. Or you could grab a bunch of flanks and damage champions with a Luminary Pocket from Genos and overwhelm the enemies with sheer damage output. Paladins isn't as rigid as Overwatch when it comes to necessary roles, and you can just choose to omit a role entirely if you really want. While sometimes this backfires if someone doesn't pick a healer, for example, ultimately the freedom to form whatever comp you want is worth it in my opinion. While we're on number 4, let's also talk about Ranked, or rather, one small thing about Paladins Ranked that I really enjoy. In Paladins, the champion selection phase of a match is different in Ranked compared to regular casuals. Before anyone ever gets to choose a champion, each team gets the opportunity to ban 2 different champions who they don't want to appear in the match. If a champion is too strong in the current meta, like Exterminate Furia is at the time of recording, you can just ban them, and they're no longer a problem. Or if you want to play a champion who might get hard countered like Drogo's, then you can ban their hard counter, Androxus. I really like this about Ranked in Paladins. If balancing happens to be bad in a particular patch, playing Ranked gives you the opportunity to get rid of someone who you just don't like fighting. If you intend to play Ranked, you've got to be flexible, and be good at quite a few different champions because of the chance of one of your champions getting banned or picked by someone else, which encourages you to try out a bunch of different champions instead of just one-tricking somebody. It's just a nice little feature that I wish Overwatch had in its competitive system. Number 3. Stats. Originally, I was going to put crossplay on this list, until it was announced that Overwatch was actually getting crossplay too, which is absolutely fantastic. So instead, let's talk about stats, because honestly, both games have their strengths and weaknesses when it comes to stats. Now, I'm a bit of a numbers guy. I love looking at statistics and analytics to see what I can do better, and analyze what any problems were that resulted in a loss. First, let's take a look at Paladins. At the end of a match in Paladins, you get a detailed page showing exactly how well you and everyone else in the match did. You can see how much damage everyone did, how many kills and assists they got, how much healing they got, etc. It's very easy to see any problems on the team or with your own gameplay based off of the stats. And it's very easy to see how well you did compared to everyone else in the lobby to pinpoint what you could improve on. Meanwhile, in Overwatch, at the end of a match, you only get to see your personal stats, with some medals indicating how you stacked up to other people on your team only. You also see a few players' achievements at the end, with stuff like top healing and whatnot, but also weird things like players saved with Immortality Field, for example. The lack of stats on a match-by-match basis is staggering. Medals mean next to nothing, since having a gold medal for damage could mean that you got 5,000 more damage than the next best player, or just 100. And having no medals can leave newer players such as myself for a while sad and confused, not knowing how much they were behind their teammates. But end-of-match stats aren't the only thing that Overwatch is lacking. In Paladins, it's easy to get exact numbers and statistics for champions' abilities and weapons. If I want to see how much damage Victor does, I can just go to the champions page, click on him, and boom, it's there. And of course, in-game, if you shoot someone with Victor, it shows a damage indicator showing how much damage you did with that shot. In Overwatch, if I go to the hero gallery, click on Soldier 76, and then hero info, I see automatic assault weapon. How is this useful? Well, it's not. If you want to know the exact damage that an ability does, you have to go to the Overwatch wiki, which is just one extra step that should be unnecessary. However, the same could be said for Paladins when it comes to broader statistics, such as your KDA and win rate with a champion, which you can easily see in Overwatch by going to your career profile, whereas in Paladins, you have to use a third-party website or bot. However, I feel that the statistics which are present in Paladins are much more impactful on gameplay than those in Overwatch. Your KDA on Widowmaker isn't going to explain why your health got nuked by a single fireball from Reinhardt, or tell you Bob's DPS so you can know exactly how long you can get shot by him before you should really start to run. Which, by the way, that brings me to another thing that's really nice about Paladin statistics: death recap. Whenever you die, you can press Y on PC or up on the D-pad on controller to view your death recap, which lists the exact amounts of damage you took from every single source you got hit by in a fight. While it doesn't work particularly well for your first death because it's bugged at the moment, it works reliably for every single death afterwards, and will show you exactly what you died from so you can avoid it or mitigate certain damage you've been pressured by with items. While the kill cam in Overwatch is nice, it only shows one player's perspective, and I really wish that there was a death recap option as well, so I can learn about every source of damage that hit me which resulted in my death. While both games are missing certain statistics in the game itself that would be really beneficial to have, I think that the death recap, easy access champion damage numbers, and end-of-match statistics in Paladins are far more important and useful than the career statistics that Overwatch has, which is why statistics has to be at the number 3 spot on my list. Number 2. Characters. Now, it's no secret that Paladins and Overwatch have some suspiciously similar characters. However, Paladins has more champions than Overwatch has heroes, and personally, I think that the champions in Paladins are much more imaginative and interesting than those in Overwatch. First, I want to talk about the characters which are pretty similar. Let's take Pharah and Drogoz as an example. Both are characters with a rocket launcher that has 6 ammo, both can fly with a jetpack, and both have an ability that launches them into the air. On a fundamental level, they function almost the same, but in my opinion, Drogoz is far better than Pharah. Pharah has 2 other abilities, her knockback rocket, which can knock herself and enemies back, and her ultimate, which has ridiculously high DPS and fires rockets in front of her, at the cost of her being stationary. Drogoz, on the other hand, has 3 other abilities. He has his Fire Spit, which he can detonate with a rocket for a huge AoE explosion, or let it hit a target directly to allow his entire team to do bonus damage to them. His Salvo, which shoots his entire clip of rockets extremely quickly with reduced damage but increased effectiveness against shields, and his Ultimate, where he charges forward and one-shots whoever he hits. His Fire Spit and Salvo interact really well, and people often use both abilities as a combo which does insane burst. Drogoz also has some tech to him which makes him even more interesting. If you fire your rocket offset of your Fire Spit, you can detonate the Fire Spit without consuming the rocket, allowing you to effectively deal double the burst to a target if you hit them with the rocket. Because of the way Drogoz's abilities interact, I consider him to be just a flat-out better and more interesting version of Pharah. Both games used pretty much the same archetype for Pharah and Drogoz, but Paladins just did more. Also, there's of course the face value comparison of how interesting the characters themselves are. Overwatch is full of humans, with a few oddballs like robots, a monkey, and a hamster piloting a mech, but for the most part, everyone is just some generic human archetype, be it a soldier, gamer, or ninja. Don't get me wrong, Paladins has plenty of those too, but there's also far more variety in the types of characters that Paladins has. Instead of a human with a jetpack, we have a flightless dragon with a jetpack who is obsessed with gold. Instead of an admittedly awesome knight, we have another admittedly awesome knight. And also, a golem who wants nothing but death and can't satiate his desire because he keeps getting reanimated. Instead of a music-obsessed bouncy boy, we have a walking tree. Instead of an ugly trash monster with a grenade launcher, we have a magical walking bomb who thinks he's the king of everything. And this is all forgetting, of course, some of the most unique champions in Paladins, including Atlas, the Time Lord who is the son of a cop and came back through time to save the realm from the giant space worm of death, which spits acid, bowls through enemies, eats demons, and is one of the most interesting, unique, and bold characters in the game. Don't get me wrong, the characters in Overwatch are fun and memorable, but I simply think that Paladins does a better job with making its characters interesting, memorable, and fun. While there are a few failures like Vivian, who's the most forgettable, boring character I've ever seen, the wins make up for the losses in this case. Speaking of losses, I want to talk about one last thing when it comes to the characters in both games, the questionable design choice of auto-aim abilities. If you guys have followed my channel for a while, you know that I hate auto-aim damage abilities. You should not be able to inflict damage on someone for free. You should have to earn it. It's one of the biggest reasons why I hate Leon, and to a lesser extent Lex, because Leon has two abilities which automatically hit enemies for 400 damage each, which is about 40% of the average champion's health pool. However, I was absolutely shocked to learn when I played Overwatch for the first time how bad the auto-aim damage abilities are in this game. The very first character you play in Overwatch, Soldier 76, has auto-aim on his ultimate. And it's not just some light auto-aim like Leon has where you tickle people. No. His assault rifle has perfect aim for the next 6 seconds, and you can reload faster so the stream of bullets is more consistent. Not to mention McCree, who can one-shot an entire team for free as long as he doesn't get killed during his ultimate. No aim required whatsoever. Soldier 76 and McCree make Leon's auto-aim look like child's play, and even though both of their ultimates can be shut down by shields and walls and whatnot, it's still the principle that I despise. Anyways, before I get too angry talking about auto-aim, let's move on to the number 1 spot. Number 1. Customization. And of course, the biggest, most obvious reason why Paladins is better than Overwatch is the customization. Because it's not just the characters who are better in Paladins, but the way you play those characters too. In Overwatch, if you pick someone like Ashe, you play them the same way every single time. You go around shooting people with your gun, throwing dynamite at groups of enemies and around corners, using your mobility to reach the high ground, and calling in Bob when you want to win. There's almost no way to change how you play, except for the usual variation from match to match based on team comp and the enemies you're fighting. Meanwhile, in Paladins, we can take a look at Grok, the jack of all trades and ultimate flex champion, who has several different playstyles that are all amazing fun. In his base kit, he deploys totems to heal his teammates, shoots enemies with lightning, can reposition safely with Ghost Walk, and can summon the power of lightning to charge his teammates into the enemies while slowing down the enemies and dealing damage, similar to Zenyatta's ultimate if Zenyatta's ultimate was way cooler and more useful. However, through the talents and loadouts in Paladins, Grok can be played in a multitude of different ways. The most typical build for Grok is to use Spirit's Domain and heal, which lets him put down his totems to heal teammates, but also shoot them with his lightning staff to heal them up, kind of like if Ana had a beam instead of a sniper. In his loadout, he can increase his ammo capacity and recharge rate, make his totems last longer, and even increase the movement speed of allies inside his totems. However, he has an alternate healing build which is even more powerful in the current meta. If you use Totemic Ward, which increases the healing on his totems and lets him place 3 instead of just 2, he can create a large area of healing or concentrate all totems in the same space, making him a fantastic healer for tanks and also letting him focus on damage too, making him the ultimate hybrid. With his loadouts, you can make Totemic Ward a healing build or a damage build, depending on how many cards and loadout points you invest into your totems or your lightning staff. Alternatively, Grok can even be a tank of sorts, when you use the cards that make his totems have more health, and also the card which grants him a personal shield whenever he gets low. But we're still not done. If you want to become a monster of area damage, then consider using Maelstrom, the talent which causes his arc lightning ability to chain to more targets, and also reduce the cooldown of it whenever Grok shoots an enemy. This build will let him deal loads of damage to enemy comps with deployables and tanks, and can also give Grok some ridiculous sustain with the Lightning Rod card. There are at least 4 different ways to play Grok, 5 if you consider the tank and damage builds for Totemic Ward to be separate. And of course, you could go off and make some meme build for Grok using a card combination that doesn't conform to the meta, and make your own way to play Grok. The talents and custom loadouts in Paladins are one of the major reasons why I still find this game to be fun after such a long time. Of course, that's not to say that the one way to play each hero in Overwatch isn't fun, but it is to say that there's just less replayability in Overwatch as a result. While Blizzard does allow for special arcade events that change the way heroes function, like the April Fool's update that I experienced this April, customization of heroes is not part of the core quick play and competitive experience like it is in Paladins. You could go into ranked in Paladins with something as silly and unique as an infinite ammo build for Rom with maximum reload speed, and while your teammates might think you're weird, you're perfectly capable of doing that. If you want to go play Hanzo in competitive Overwatch, you've got the same kit every single time, with no customizations to spice things up or potentially turn a match more in your favor through a pre-built loadout that you set up beforehand. But we're not even done when it comes to customization in this game. Not only are there talents and loadouts, some of which drastically change the way a champion plays, but there's an entire item shop which you can utilize in every single match. As you play a game of Paladins, you earn credits which you can spend on 4 of 16 items that affect your gameplay in different ways. If you don't like how much the enemies are healing themselves, you can buy cauterize to make your weapon shots reduce how much they get healed. If you don't like how little healing you're receiving, you can buy Life Rip to leech some of the damage you deal as healing. If you want your shield to have a lower cooldown, you can buy Chronos, which will do exactly that. The item shop in Paladins allows you to strategically counter your enemies or enhance your playstyle to the next level, which is just something that's non-existent in Overwatch. If you're getting countered as Drogos by an Androxus, you can get Haven to mitigate the damage, and be more attentive to make sure he doesn't ambush you. If you get countered as Pharah by Echo, well, you just switch heroes. The fact that you're stuck with whichever champion you locked at the start of the match in Paladins and can modify your gameplay with items forces you to think more about how you play a champion if you want to win. There's no copping out of a tough matchup just by switching characters. No. You have to find a way to beat the enemy with the credits, loadout, and skill you've got. In my opinion, this is the better way to do things, because it gives more opportunities to outplay your opponents in a satisfying manner, instead of just swapping out to someone else who you know has an easy matchup against your enemies. I simply think that the loadouts, talents, and items in Paladins easily gives the game more replayability than Overwatch, and the increased variety in playstyles in Paladins is the single biggest edge that Paladins has over Overwatch in terms of being a fun, satisfying game to play. But anyways, that's going to be the end of today's video. What do you think of my list? Do you agree with the reasons I listed, or do you think that I'm wrong about my reasons for thinking Paladins is better than Overwatch? Make sure to let me know in the comment section down below, and also don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on future content from me. Don't forget that I'll be releasing a follow-up list to this video next week about the reasons why Overwatch is better than Paladins, so make sure to turn notifications on so you'll be notified when that video goes out. Also, check me out on Discord and Twitch. We have a wonderful community of active members on Discord, and I stream regularly on Twitch. You won't want to miss out. Lastly, I want to give a huge shout out to the members of the channel for helping to support my content. If you want to support what I do, then click the join button down below to become a member of my channel and gain access to some fun emojis and an exclusive role in Discord. It's cheap, and it helps out a lot. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.